For years, I was doing architectural work, but not calling it that. I was a developer, senior developer, lead developer, DevOps developer. I was designing systems and making architectural decisions, but somehow I did not think of myself as an architect. Maybe you are in a similar place. You are already thinking architecturally, but struggling to make that transition to, let's call it, a pure architect role. Here's what happened to me. I spent years underestimating the architectural work I was already doing, chasing certifications and completely misunderstanding what the transition actually required. But when I made that leap to my first architect role at ABN AMRO Clearing in 2019, where I worked across business, application and technology architecture levels, and then also continued this multi-level approach at Butter Management and Infrastructure Agency with added enterprise architecture responsibilities, everything shifted. Today I'm going to share my real journey from developer to architect, including the mistakes that held me back and the insights that changed everything for me. This is the condensed version of my story. If there is interest, I might create a longer one, more detailed version later. But for now, let me give you the key lessons that actually mattered. Your journey might be completely different, but maybe there is something useful in my personal experience for you personally. I'm Yanis. For more than 20 years, I have progressed from troubleshooting systems to designing banking systems. I have worked across various domains: aviation with KLM, shipping with TNT, banking with ABN AMRO. I have worked at business, application and technology architecture layers as solution architect at both ABN AMRO Clearing and currently at Water Management and Infrastructure Agency, where I'm working on improving digital systems for environmental law processes. But here is the important part. I'm not here to coach you or give you the ultimate solution. I do not have all the answers, and my approach might not work for everyone. I'm simply sharing my experience, the mistakes I made, the insights I gained, and what worked for me personally. You will take what is useful and leave the rest. It's up to you. Let me give you the condensed version of my journey, the lessons, not just the timeline. Phase 1 is what I would call the accidental architect, starting somewhere around 2006 maybe. I was not trying to become an architect. I was just a guy who asked why too much. At Accenture, when the architect on our project quit, I got thrown into the meetings with business stakeholders. I had no idea what I was doing, but I learned the first critical lesson. Architecture is not about perfect technical solution. It is about optimal solutions for specific business problems. The first mistake, however, that I made was thinking that architecture was about knowing every pattern and every framework. But this is wrong. It is about understanding trade-offs. The second phase of my journey, starting around 2009 through maybe 2012, is what I call the learning trap. This is where I nearly derailed. I got obsessed with domain-driven design, probably read every book about it. But at Backbase, when I tried to implement textbook DDD, it was a disaster. The code was architecturally pure, but impossible to deliver on schedule. My second mistake was confusing theoretical knowledge with practical wisdom. Books teach patterns. Experience teaches when not to use them. Then came what I think of as my breakthrough phase from 2012 to 2015. At KLM, something clicked. We were migrating the reservation system, and I was not just thinking about the code, I was thinking about the risk, timeline, team capabilities, and business impact. This is where I learned that architecture is really about making decisions under uncertainty. What I learned during this phase, and your mileage may vary, is that good architects do not eliminate the risk. They make the risk visible and manageable. This was my breakthrough, but every architect finds their own path at the end. For fourth phase, starting in 2015 somewhere and continuing to probably present, has been about scale and probably even leadership. TNT taught me microservices, ING taught me reactive systems, ABN AMRO taught me enterprise governance. Vatar and Infrastructure Agency is teaching me how to operate across all architectural levels, from organizational capability building to platform service management. My third mistake was thinking that becoming an architect meant moving away from implementation. In my experience, the most effective architects I have worked with understand implementation deeply because they know what is actually possible. Your path, however, might be different. So here is what worked in my journey. I'm not saying it is the only way, but it is what I wish someone shared with me back in 2006. The first thing that worked for me was starting where I was. I did not wait for the architect title. In my developer role, I started asking what I now think of architectural questions. What happens when this system needs to handle 10 times more load? How we test this integration? What is your disaster recovery plan? The second approach that helped me was documenting my thinking. I started writing what I learned were architecture decision records, ADRs, for decisions your team made, even small ones. This helped me build a portfolio of my thinking process. Third, I focused on understanding the business context. I made an effort to attend product meetings, understanding even revenue models, learned how my code connected to business outcomes. For me, technical excellence without a business context felt incomplete. Fourth, I worked on learning to communicate effectively. I practiced explaining technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders and translating business requirements into technical constraints. This skill proved more valuable than any certification I earned. Fifth, I learned to embrace failures as learning opportunities. Every system I built had problems. I started documenting what went wrong and why. Those failure stories became some of my most valuable experience to share in interviews. Let me focus on some actionable steps. Those are things you can do yourself to get some exercise in your routine. To kick things off, I started by reviewing the technical decisions made by our team. I began creating straightforward documents that outlined what we decided, why we made those choices, and the trade-offs involved. This process evolved in my first practice of architecture decision record, ADR. A turning point for me was when I began practicing in business meetings and inquiring about how our work affected customers or impacted revenue. This experience was eye-opening. Building my confidence came from pinpointing architectural issues within our systems and drafting proposals for solutions, which included assessments of costs, risks, and timelines, of course. Even if those proposals were not implemented, the exercise helped me to adopt a more systematic way of thinking. If you're interested in more insights like this, consider subscribing to this channel. This is just the starting of sharing my experience. In the next video, I will give you a glimpse into my daily life as an architect, which might surprise you. I will showcase real artifacts I have created, meetings I attended, and decisions I make. Well, this is just one architect's perspective. I hope it provides some value to you as well. I'm also eager to hear your story. Where you are on your journey, are you encountering similar challenges? What is your biggest question about advancing towards architecture? From my perspective, the transition from developer to architect is not about waiting for approval. It's about cultivating a new way of thinking. I cannot say if this leads to inevitable promotion, but it has certainly aided my growth. I will see you in the next update where I will continue to share what I have learned along the way.